Hey guys, and welcome to season 3 of the Us People podcast. I'm your host Savia, and in this season I get to make my guests laugh, cry, and even make them think about life a little differently with the questions I fire over to them, which digs into their lives and professions a little differently. We even had a chance to change up the intro, giving you a fresh, new sound. I look forward to sharing season 3 of the Us People podcast with you. Let's go.
Hello everyone, you are listening to the Us People podcast. I am Nicoleta Porojanu, psychologist, therapist and educator, and I'm so grateful to invite you to another beautiful episode of the Us People podcast with Savia.
Made up my mind, now is my time to shine. Now is my time to shine. Time that you let go, time that you let go now.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Us People podcast. I'm your host Savia, and today I'm abundantly humbled to have Nicoleta here with me. Nicoleta is a psychologist, therapist, and educator, and I want to welcome her so much for taking her time to come on the Us People podcast. How are you?
Hi Savia, I'm doing great, thank you. I want to thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be here with you on this platform and spend some meaningful time, I would say, talking about life and us people.
No, that sounds good to me. It definitely sounds good. So my first question for you, which I absolutely love to ask all my guests that come on the show, is could you tell me about yourself, but also where you grew up and how that influenced you to be the person who you are today?
I was born in Romania in 71 in a communist time. Pretty bad, pretty severe one. I don't remember much about the first years, but obviously I remember everything else from 3-4 onwards. I grew up at the countryside for my first 7 years of life with my grandparents. In those times, people would work for 7 days in a communist Romania. I don't know if you were aware of that, or if people know about it. There are still communist countries in the world right now. There are about 4, I think, where people are exploited and people don't have any freedom. So the culture was this: children would go with their grandparents and parents would work 7 days a week. So for the first 7 years of life, I lived the bliss, I would say, a blissful time with the grandparents, myself and my brother. The grandparents were just amazing. The grandmother was a mystical person, the healer in the village, beautiful soul and human being. She lived to 94, and I miss her dearly still. She influenced me a lot. She shaped me into the person that I am today. Same my grandfather. He had a history himself. He was a war prisoner, shot and severely injured, survived, came back after 3 years. There was a lot of trauma in my family. My father was actually conceived immediately after my grandfather returned. He was very wise. He was actually the sage in the village. Everyone would come to ask for advice and have a chat with him, because he didn't speak much. He only spoke when it was needed. He wouldn't occupy that much space. He wasn't that kind of noisy person that annoys you. So it was quite a treat to have him around. So my first 7 years of life have been fantastic. I have wonderful memories, and I feel that gave me the safety and the stability I needed in life, because when I moved back with my parents, when we went to school in the city, I witnessed a lot of domestic abuse. So for the next 10 years, life hasn't been great. My father was an alcoholic. My mother, quite codependent. She tried her best, but she couldn't really change anything. Those people that are a little bit familiar with what dependency is, especially alcohol addiction, it's not an easy, it's not an easy condition to deal with. And the impact is quite severe on everyone, on all of those involved. So there's been wonderful times when my father was great, joyful, charismatic, pleasant to be around, to play with and stuff like that. But then horrible times when he would become a monster, when he was drinking. So I've been exposed to a lot personally, and I witnessed a lot myself. And that hasn't been pleasant, but in a way it allowed me to grow some resilience, some endurance. And it also triggered all sorts of questions. Why is my father different to my grandfather, who was such a lovely person? I mean, both of them, all of them were nice, the grandparents. What about the other parents around me? So all of these questions, in a way, allowed me to somehow imagine a future where I would be able to help these people, help those people that struggle. I mean, people that would struggle themselves, like my father. At the time, I didn't think that. I thought he's the perpetrator. He's the one that is hurting every single of us. But now looking back, obviously, I give it a different kind of perspective. And I wanted to help those that were suffering, people like my mother, that was struggling, in that kind of couple relationship, in that family, plus the children. So those experiences have been quite instrumental in all the choices that I made in life. I became a psychologist, a clinical psychologist, very early. I was in my early 30s. And my first role, I don't know how it happened. Maybe it came on my path. It was offered to me when I was doing my dissertation in a psychiatric hospital. I did it properly, really well, and I spent a lot of time, with my patients, with everyone. It was around depression. It was a big thing, in the early 2000s. I was very passionate about it. So there was a young psychiatrist who was amazed with how much determination I have and how seriously I take everything. So he spoke to a fellow psychiatrist from another hospital, and they offered me a job. So I had a job before I actually, graduated, but it was a job in a palliative care hospital. So I worked with the dying, and that was a very, very unusual experience for me. Very challenging, quite profound. It gave me many sleepless nights. I mean, I was really torn inside because I happened to be the last person that these people would speak to before they would take the last breath. And they were, most of them, if not all of them, I always say this story, they were quite unfulfilled. I mean, they didn't live the life that they wanted to live. And now they ran out of time. They were towards the end of their lives and they couldn't change anything. So all of those regrets, all of those, broken relationships that they were talking about, in a way, they affected me. They changed me from inside. They helped me ask so many important existential questions. What's the purpose of life? Why are we here? What is this all about? What is your purpose? What are you made of? Where you're coming from? And how did you get here? And how were you shaped to become who you are? So all of these questions gradually shifted my focus from the medical model. I wasn't interested as much in doing evaluations and in diagnosing people and creating treatment plans. I was more into healing others. I was so interested to be there with people, to hold them, to because it resonated in me so much. It actually connected with my own pain, my own suffering, whatever that was about. Pain from my past, obviously, and pain from that present, because we always seem to be, experiencing some challenges, all of us, irrespective of who we are. So this is how I started training in psychotherapy, and I've done a couple of courses back home. Then I moved to London because I didn't find what I was searching for. I thought it's a cultural thing, Everyone seemed to be struggling in relationships. Everyone seemed to be, quite unfulfilled, struggle with depression, with a bit of anxiety. So I thought maybe this is about my people, not us people. I mean, it's just us, people from this particular, area. So I moved to London. My son was about to study, to come to university. So I made that transition 15 years ago, and I don't regret it. It's been one of the best decisions I made as a human being, as a professional, as a mother, as everything. It allowed me to work with 49 different nationalities, all sorts of ethnicities, all sorts of differences, which by that time I was very, interested in, because I wanted to understand individual differences, not from the perspective of the science or psychology, but from real life. I'm a passionate practitioner researcher. I think I've learned from my researches, from my practice, from my therapy practice, about 80% of everything I know, and only about 20% from the studies, from all of these theories of mind and whatever I had to go through all my courses. I continue to study. So eventually, here I am working in mental health services, managing mental health services in London, in 6 different boroughs, going through residential care, supported living services, community services, all mental health, beautiful people, beautiful, structures and infrastructure, because I think what we have in the UK, what we have in England is amazing. I don't think there's nothing like this on Earth. I don't know. I haven't been, introduced to anything like that. So the way the social services and the health services work, even if sometimes we are a bit, mourning and unhappy, they are well organized and they take care of people. So that's been a fantastic experience for me. And then about 5 years ago, in my mid-40s, I have been diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer, and that was the biggest challenge I've been through. It was a severe illness, very rare, very, very aggressive, with the lowest rate of survival. I actually thought I'm going to go. And then all those questions from my palliative care years came back, because I'm now finding myself in this, in this place where I'm contemplating my death. That wasn't pleasant at all. That was very difficult. But eventually, I don't know how, after 6 months of chemotherapy and a couple of major surgeries, I survived and I thrived. And I'm now surviving and thriving and, changing completely my perspective to life. I'm now doing the work that I want to do. I don't follow anyone. I don't care about anything other than being there of service, helping the people I'm working with. I've set up a mental health charity as a gift to the humanity, because I've been through this challenge and I realized how important it is to have someone there for you.
Yes.
To listen to you, to help you, to understand a little bit about yourself, about your circumstances, about your life, about the transgenerational trauma that probably included everyone's life somehow, if not directly to parents, maybe to other people around us. So, yes, I'm doing the work I enjoy doing now. I'm only working in the clinical practice. I'm not doing the corporate mental health, work anymore. I think that has contributed a lot to my illness, the stress and everything, the pressure I put myself on studying all the time, on working in different therapy practices, trying to, see everyone, volunteering for a mental health charity as well, supporting survivors of childhood trauma. That was my gift to the humanity, because I've been there myself. I suffered and I know how hard it is. And now I'm getting a little bit better. I'm quite excited, to live and embrace the vitality of life, full of appreciation for this awakening journey that I've been through since I was very, young. Quite grateful to all of those people that have been there for me, that have mentored me, that have helped me somehow. To all of those people that I'm meeting every day, mostly in the virtual world now. But yes, full of appreciation for life, learning a lot from my experiences, sharing my knowledge and my learnings and my teachings with the others. And yes, happy that I'm here with you all, with us people.
I like that. That is a beautiful story, and that's just the first question. So
Sorry.
no, don't ever apologize. Don't ever apologize for your journey of your life and sharing it with people who want to hear it and can embrace it and take something from it. Because everything you say kind of leads to another question, to another question, to another question, which digs into the depth of who you are and your life. which leads me on to my next question, which is, out of everything that you have just told me and that you have been through, who do you see before and now? Who do you see when you look in the mirror? But also, what does your reflection say to you when you look in the mirror? And on the flip side of that question, has there ever been a time in your life where you have looked in the mirror and not recognized the person staring back at you? How did you come back, Nicoleta, to be the beautiful person who you are now and feel at peace and content with who you are?
Wonderful question, Savia. I'm going to start with the end, because there have been times when I was completely dissociated from my body, from who I was, completely disconnected from my soul. Because when you witness domestic abuse, when you live in fear, when you live with the unpredictable, and you don't know how this evening is going to be when your parents return home, would it be quietness? Would it be peace? Would it be maybe, I don't know, scandal or tension or animosities or whatever? You never know that. So when you live with this trauma surrounding you, whether there is an event happening or not, you somehow shut down because you can't handle that pain as a child.
That's true.
You can't handle it. So you shut down your emotions, you disconnect from them. So you obviously disconnect from all the emotions, not just the negative ones, because you can't really close the tap only on the negative ones. So in a way, you're depriving yourself from joy and happiness. So you're somehow suppressing yourself on those times a lot as a human being. So there's been a lot of disconnection throughout those years when I lived with my parents, and then I left home and I got married and we had our son. But every time I looked in the mirror, even on those times, and I was able to actually see, because very often we look, but we don't see.
Exactly.
We just look, but I couldn't see all the time. But when I saw, I always connected with that me that I became aware of throughout my first 7 years of life. That's why I'm saying that whatever my grandparents shaped in me, however they somehow modeled me, molded me as well. I think that's been the theme in my life. I always found a way to come back to that, to that safety, to that beautiful feeling of love and connection and trust and patience and understanding. Everything that was on a positive nature, I was able to still connect with that. So I always remained true to myself. I didn't lose myself into the drama that was created in the family, because I always told my father I was the only one confronting him in the family anyway. None of the others would dare to say anything because they were afraid. But I was very vocal all the time. I didn't care if I was abused in any way, but I would still do it. I told him that he's wrong. So I knew he's wrong. My values were already somehow instilled in me by my grandparents.
Yes.
And then over the years, I started to obviously look into the mirror. Sometimes I would see myself, other times I wouldn't see it. There would be times when I could see myself crystal clear. But I think what's coming as a real truth to me is that throughout life, we have moments when we are more connected with who we really are, with our true identity, and times when we transition through I don't know, stages of turmoil and storm, when we lose ourselves based on so many factors. It could be the people surrounding us, it could be our own searches within ourselves. So when I look in the mirror now, I see just a human being like any other, with a beautiful soul carrying this body through life, and allowing it to maybe have a human experience, but provide at the same time a wonderful opportunity for transcendence, from looking at life beyond the physical world, beyond the material world, and connecting with everything that is spiritual.
Yes.
And for me, spirituality means consciousness, which is the same thing as love, as care, as compassion, as understanding, tolerance, acceptance, gratitude, appreciation, all the good stuff. And as long as I'm able to look into the mirror and see myself with my, through my true eyes, through my third eye here in, the proper eye, that helps us to actually see beyond this physical body, beyond this program mind, beyond all of these labels that we integrate in our identity. Your name, your nationality, your gender, your race, your I don't know, everything, nonsense things that mean nothing, because at the end of the day, we are all sparks of the same fire. We are all connected. We are all the same, and we all go through the same life experience. Whether we experience something sooner or later, that's irrelevant. We are all parts of the same kind of, wonderful consciousness, intelligence, life experience, whatever we want to call it. So that's how I see it now.
I totally love that. One thing I love to talk about is a lot of the time we as human beings, in our physical sense, we are very hard, Nicoleta, on ourselves and what we want to achieve or our goals may be. Mm-hmm. Do you find that after everything that's happened with COVID, for example, and so many other things that are happening in the world, do you find that a lot of people are starting to understand what compassion is, what kindness is, and how we can have more empathy towards each other as beings? How do you feel about how the world is changing, but also how we are connecting our emotions spiritually to each other to make the world a better place in the terms of kindness?
I feel that kindness is what's keeping the world moving. Yes. I always felt that, because there is, you have this life which is like a coin with two facets. You have the positivity, you have the negativity, you have the good forces and the bad forces. You have the goodness that we can all feel somehow within ourselves, within others, within the world. But you also have the evil, which again exists in every single one of us, if we are to be genuine and authentic to ourselves. But lately, I don't know what it is, if it's me maybe being able to see a bit clearer, or it's a real movement, it's a race in the level of collective consciousness. I can see that people are a bit more preoccupied of emotion, of feeling, of the other, of taking care of themselves, of inquiring a little bit within, of maybe, I don't know, being more giving, more at service. Maybe it's the pandemic that is bringing this kind of trend. Maybe it's lasting forever. It's something that we've learned and we're not gonna strip ourselves from. We will embrace it fully, or it's just a temporary expression of fear, of collective fear. Yes. Because this is, if you look back into the history of humanity, we can see, reading through the teachings of all of those that have collected information, we can see how humans have come together in times of distress and duress as well. But then when things have started to loosen up a little bit and get better, we have seen again a lot of struggles, a lot of turmoil, a lot of tension, and social unrest. So yes, there is something happening there. Whether this is lasting or not, I'm not able to say. I'm hoping it does. I'm hoping we actually inspire others, every single one of us. We talk to people, we share our inner experience, so we can inspire others to maybe explore life from a similar perspective. The problem we have is that after 2.5 million years, although our modern history is quite new, we're talking about a few 100 years of civilization, what we call civilization, which is, anyway, it's debatable anyway. We can see that obviously people have struggled for centuries now under this impact of the scientific revolution to make sense of their lives and to look at themselves as being human beings. There's been so much focus on performance, on competition, on differences, that everyone now is somehow waking up in the morning to prove the world that they are valuable, that they are important, that they are significant, that they know, that they have achieved something, that they do. It's this quest for, it's like a never-ending sort of struggle to prove yourself. And when you're shaped when you are little, since you are little, to really be so harsh with yourself, there's no way you can learn about self-love or self-compassion. Most people, I work with people that are in their 40s and 50s in my therapy work, and they've never explored being kind with themselves. So we need to start from scratch. Some people say unlearning the past. I don't think we need to unlearn. I think we need to acknowledge the past. We need to be more embracing with our wholeness, because however we've been programmed in the past, that's just a little software into our brain. It's just a mind. It's just a network of wires that have happened to just take place between our neurons. That's not to say that we need to function there. We can always expand. I love this expansion. I love when people are curious and interested to develop and grow and learn through their own experience, not necessarily reading books and trying to copy others, because the point is to be yourself, to find your own identity and connect with that. So yes, I think we're seeing that people are starting to shift a little bit the way they look at themselves. I think the most difficult challenge we face is that parents are still struggling to keep up with this, and teachers in schools that are so important in shaping the new, the younger generations, they are struggling sometimes. So we don't have a universal, attitude towards self-love or self-compassion. It's misunderstood, it's misperceived. We're struggling. There's no manual for life. Strangely, we go to school for so many years and we come out unprepared for life. And we just need to go through struggles and figure out ourselves. So maybe this is the point of life. I don't know. We can philosophize until, next morning. But the truth is something is shifting. Maybe we see it with the social media more than we would see it before.
Yes.
Maybe it's been there. Maybe we don't know it. So there's all sorts of dimensions we can answer this question from, but that's how I see it for now.
No, I love the fact that you say that. I think I was talking to someone before and they were saying to me, people are starting to highlight the bad things instead of people being able to hide them. And social media gives us all a platform to be able to now use our mobile phones and put things up so that people can see really what's going on in different parts of the world and take acknowledgement to it and do something about it and stand up for what they believe is right. So I do agree with what you're actually saying. One of the things that I'd love to ask you is, what is a day like in your life, from when you wake up in the morning to when you become a therapist to when you become an educator? I'm sure it all starts from the morning, from when you rise, because all these things are naturally within your soul for you to be and do. But I would love to know what a day is like in your life from morning to evening.
At the moment, because I'm involved in so many projects, it's a combination of taking care a little bit about me in the morning. For about an hour, I'm just, coming in touch with myself, taking care of the body, meditating a little bit, just being at peace, so I can set my day really nicely, with no agitation, with no tension. And that's because I'm quite organized. Survivors of childhood trauma, usually, from my learning, they tend to be a little bit onto the OCD, we like to call it, but I'm not talking about a disease. I'm just talking about someone that likes to have things in order, to control the environment. Because after you've been for so long exposed to times when you couldn't control anything, what you want right now is that sense of control in your life. So you want order, tidiness. You want it really, well structured. So I have the day structured. I know for a fact what I'm doing the following day. All the time before I go to sleep, I'm actually going through all of this. So I allow myself to get prepared for them as I'm sleeping, to not allow my mind to just go into all sorts of nonsense, but focus on solutions, on manifesting what I want to have in my life. So I'm taking care of myself for about an hour. Often I go to the gym in the morning for about an hour. If I can't go, I'm going to have my own routine at home. And then I'm starting my day. I usually respond to emails if I have time. Often I have sessions in the morning, and then I'm starting my session. So the first part of the day up until lunch, I'm having therapy sessions. Then I'm having a short break. Then I'm doing either podcasting, or I'm working a little bit for the charity, or I'm connecting with other people, and usually I have other sessions as well in the afternoon, evening. So it's a mixture of things. But it's a beautiful day. And then I keep working because now I'm writing a book. I'm trying to collect all my life learnings into something that is easy to be followed, or easy to be maybe digested by all of the others that might want to get a little bit of inspiration, maybe have been through similar challenges like me. So I'm trying to put everything in a book. Sometimes I'm writing when I feel inspired. I'm doing a digital course as well. I'm trying to introduce self-therapy to people. So whether they are in therapy or not, whether they have been on and off, or they are completely averse and they don't want to go, I just want to offer them a framework so they can at least take care of themselves, at least understand how to go through their journey of self-discovery, healing, and personal growth themselves. So that's my end goal. I'm hoping that I'm able to achieve it. So that's pretty much how the day goes. Not watching telly, not really following news, trying to preserve my mind into a space of focus and peacefulness, because it doesn't do anything to me really if I get disturbed by all of this. And I love comedies. When I have a bit of time, I watch a comedy, I watch a romantic movie. I'm into love and adventure and beautiful things. So this is my world. And I love music, and I love dancing, and I love cycling and skating. So I have a few passions, outdoorsy sort of things that I love to do.
I love that. I totally love that. When I was reading up about you, Nicoleta, there was the 7 steps of real transformation, right? And I would love for you to touch on each one of them for anybody who is listening. This is something that I was really intrigued by. This is something that I thought would be really useful to people in the world for them to understand and know about, but from your perspective of how you do things. Could you please break down this for anybody listening?
Yes, of course. So these 7 steps of transformation are actually at the core of my work. It's the framework that I'm basing my entire work. And I developed them because I was trying to heal myself. So naturally, as a trainee in psychotherapy, I had to go through therapy myself, and then I had to continue to be in therapy because that's how the law says. This is a requirement for all of us that are accredited and qualified. But it's also not necessarily the must, it's also the need and the wish to do it, because you see the benefits, you see how transformational it is. The problem I had was that I studied for 30 years, and despite of my studies, 15 years of them have been studying psychology and psychotherapy in university and postgrad level. So I was always very excited to start a new course, and I had so much expectation. I was sure that by the end of this course, 2-3 years, whatever, I would be sorting out all my problems, all my struggles. I would appeal a deeper level of the core of my being. So I would enlighten myself in a way. But it hasn't been that way. And then I somehow changed therapies very often, trying to find something different, something new, something that works for me. And I couldn't find it because I wasn't happy to just, stay in therapy based on the 3 major schools of psychotherapy as we know them today, the psychoanalysis, the cognitive behavior, and the humanistic. They didn't offer me all the tools that I needed. I mean, I tried them all and I implemented everything I knew, and it worked for a while, but the change wasn't lasted. So something was missing and I couldn't understand what was it. But then gradually, as I permitted myself to, look beyond the psychology and psychotherapy into transpersonal psychology, then something beautiful happened, because I could tap into that dimension of life that the science doesn't acknowledge. As a psychologist, I'm a scientist, and I have to be a researcher and measure whatever results I'm getting. Well, that's not really the case with that energy and spiritual life that you have. So, and I don't think you can actually heal in the mind. For many years, I tried to apply therapy, on the mind, like everyone is doing. And I somehow, I don't know how, awakened to realize that psychotherapia in Greek and Latin means the healing of the soul. So I had to really involve another dimension, not just focus on the mind, or not even on the body, not even on the environment, respecting the biopsychosocial model of working. So I gradually introduced, tap into, transpersonal psychology, look beyond these things that can be explained. And then I found myself, searching for a deeper level of understanding around transgenerational trauma. I didn't understand how I can heal myself and my childhood trauma. So I had to go into anthropologists to understand my life script and my ancestry. And then when I understood what these people in my ancestry have been through, I could understand that one has actually transferred, the trauma to the other generation. And that's how it carried out. And I decided to be the one that awakens now. Okay. So I'm using psychology, I'm using psychotherapy, I'm using transpersonal psychology, I'm using the science of anthropology. I'm learning a lot. I'm saying that's it. I understand my life script. I understand my personal history. I'm starting somehow to heal. And then again, it didn't last. It was just temporary. So what was missing? I had to keep searching and searching. And then I introduced really nicely the Eastern spirituality traditions, so I can connect with my soul, so I can really, really feel attuned to my path and aligned to my meaning and my purpose in life. And gradually, through my illness and everything, all these challenges, I'd learned from Viktor Frankl. I'm not sure you're familiar with him. He wrote Man's Search for Meaning. Some time ago, he was a Holocaust survivor, a psychiatrist from Vienna, and he developed this logotherapy, which is all about finding meaning in life and healing through extracting meaning from your suffering. And I think that was absolutely fantastic when I could really learn from all of this suffering that I've been through and understand that it wasn't there to hurt me. Nothing happened to hurt me. These people haven't intentionally woken up to say, today I'm going to create a scandal and I'm going to hurt my children or my wife or anyone. They were just victims in their lives, and I was just a victim myself, watching and observing that. So extracting meaning from my suffering and finding that I am actually living this so I can learn some lesson to share them with the world and help other people heal themselves, that was absolutely joyful. And lastly, when I was ill and I had breast cancer, I was diagnosed with a genetic mutation, the same genetic mutation like Angelina Jolie. Her mother died of ovarian cancer, just like my mother, young. And I wanted to be tested, but the NHS refused my test. Anyway, it's a long story. I was very upset with that at the time. And eventually I got breast cancer myself. So I wanted to understand why 50% of these women develop with this genetic mutation, develop breast cancer, and 50% don't. So I naturally went into studying epigenetics, which is the new biology, to find out what's wrong with my genes. And then I found that we can actually turn on and off our genes. And even if we have mutations, they can actually be activated or not. It's our choice. It's based on the lifestyle we create for ourselves and how we control the environment, the inner environment and the outer environment. So now we're looking into bridging psychology and psychotherapy with all of these disciplines that I mentioned, including quantum physics, which has been so, important in understanding the energy surrounding us, that everything is actually energy, and matter is just 1 billion part. That's been very helpful to really escape the identification with this physical body. So I'm bridging psychology and psychotherapy with all of these 6 disciplines, and everything is starting to make sense. And gradually, from understanding and the desire to heal immediately, which never happened because I would always go back into the same kind of cycle of pain, I'm learning gradually that the understanding naturally leads to acceptance. When you really understand your past, your ancestry, your personal history, what you've been exposed to, what shaped you into who you are today, what is real, what is false in you, so you can let go what's not serving you and then embrace whatever you want to have, whoever you want to be, then this understanding led to acceptance of everything. So I accepted what can be changed, and I didn't think so much of the past, and I stopped resisting what was unfolding in front of me in real time, and then gradually learned to be a little bit more present. And that's what helped me unstuck myself, and then that acceptance naturally helped me to surrender. The surrender actually happened to me when I was almost dying throughout my breast cancer journey, on the bed in an A&E department in London. That's been a huge story. This is when I actually surrendered completely. Not surrender to life, surrender to fight and want things to be different, be healthy, be, not have this illness, be able to survive and be there for your son and for all of the other people and do something with your life. So I surrendered and I accepted my imminent death. And that's been the most revealing and transformational experience that I have ever witnessed. And I really encourage everyone to learn to let go and learn to surrender, because without this, there's no way you can learn anything from life. Because if you don't surrender and you stay in it, there's no way you can create distance so you can actually see your life from some wisdom, from some, distance. So having that kind of distance created, having that kind of space allows you to reframe your life, to look at your life experience and really learn some lessons and extract that meaning from your life. And then when you learn, well, you're not upset with those people anymore because you understand what happened, you accepted it, you surrendered, and now you're learning a lot. It's not about them wanting to hurt you. It wasn't intentional. It just happened. So move on. This is when you can start forgiving. And the forgiveness is essential for healing. If you don't forgive, you're not going to heal. But when you start forgiving, well, then you start to feel the transformation inside of you. And that's the real transformation. That's why I call it the 7 steps of real transformation. And I've tried it with many of my clients. Some of them say, take me quickly through these 7 steps. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, I want to heal. This is very important. Let me do it. And it's very hard to actually go quickly. Of course, I've seen people moving when they are ready. When we are ready, we can actually transcend all of these limitations and all of this stuckness really easily. The readier you are, the quicker you move through this. So the truth is, over and over again, I see that until we go through all of these steps, we can't actually transform and open to happiness and be present and live in the now and make the best of this beautiful life that we have.
Oh, that's a beautiful way to see things. That is an absolutely beautiful way to see things. One of the things that I also read that you talk about is change. And a lot of the time people resist change because possibly they're in denial, possibly they don't have the forgiveness, possibly they don't want to dig into the depth of who they are as a person or an individual. But could you talk to me about what change means to you and why you believe that people are so persistent in not wanting to have change, or they're resisting from change?
I feel that we humans, as people, we are very comfortable in our ways.
Yes.
The mind is just a little instrument, a little software that works on our brain. And based on our experience in our first years of life, how we shape this map of the world and we learn to function, whilst our neurons have been wired, and created this network with alleys of experience on which we function, obviously automatically by default without thinking. I'm going to say something now. Look how everything is unfolding naturally because I have this memory, I have this database, I'm extracting from there. That's how the mind works. So we have this mind that has been set to be comfortable in a safe environment, in a familiar environment. And we are, through our nature, quite fearful. Yeah. So whoever we are, let's not forget that we come into the world with a head down from a very containing and warm and peaceful environment, very protective in the placenta and our mother's bellies, into a very bright, loud, cold environment.
Yes.
When people are starting to touch our bodies, when we feel that there is, all sorts of intervention, that there's all sorts of things happening, and everything is frightening. So we start our life in fear, and fear is the theme of our lives. Fear is what's underlying all the suffering, all the pain, the attachment to this fear, the attachment to this desire of not feeling the fear and having the life differently. And I think change is quite a frightening prospect for people. First of all, we are afraid of what's going to happen if we change. Are we able to go on that road? Would there be any challenges? And in a way, we get comfortable from a psychological perspective, I would say, as psychologists, that we are very, very comfortable with knowing ourselves the way we are. Okay. And we identify with whatever we think we are. So giving up some parts of ourselves, disowning parts of ourselves so we can change them, that's something that no one is willing to do it, consciously and easily and intentionally, without feeling a little bit of anxiety, apprehension, or fear. So there's so many perspectives we can explore change. I think we kind of resist change because we don't know, what the process of change is like. How would it be at the end if it's going to really bring some change, proper transformation in our life, some benefits or not? And then we are lazy. We don't want challenges. Honestly, that's it. So there's a lot going on in there. It's fear, it's comfort into what's happening now. It's not wanting to lose what we have.
That's true.
And change is just temporary. I make a difference between change and transformation. Change is not long lasting. It's something that is happening, but it's not there forever. Usually change, it happens from outside. Transformation happens from inside. That's my difference between the two.
I like the way you brought that down, and I think people need to understand that and know that while you were answering that question, a question came into my mind. And I find it to be a very important question. There is somebody who will be listening to this podcast, and they will be going through something similar, Nicoleta, to what you have been through in your life, especially with the trauma, the stress, the anxiety, and the fear possibly of feeling alone and not knowing what to do. I would love for you to give advice to that person. Just if you could imagine them listening to your words and how you are saying them, to give them advice about what they could do to help themselves going through what they're going through, and also even if there's a way to come out of it and just have that self-belief and courage within themselves, what would you say?
I would say be connected with yourself. Get in touch with who you really are. Aim to get to understand your past, your life script. Talk to people, talk to your family as far as you can go. Understand their experience, their struggles, so you can understand what happened to you in your personal history, in your first years of life, why you experienced what you experienced. And then start going within a little bit deeper and find out what is real, what's unreal in you, what's false, and you may want to let go. What's waiting there maybe to unfold that you haven't allowed for a reason or another. And then whilst you're connecting with all of this and the pain, find a way to actually work through this healing. Follow these 7 steps of transformation. You can just download the guide from my website. It's free. I give it to everyone. It has some examples there. I heard that people find it very helpful. So I'm hoping that you will find it too. Work with someone. If you have support, that's even better. If you find a therapist, a coach, a mentor, it doesn't matter. Someone that you can trust, someone that is inspiring you, that is there for you. Work with someone if you can to speed up your process of self-discovery, of healing, and become the person that you want to be. Never forget, you are not your life experiences.
That's true.
You are not what happened to you. You are beyond all of this. That was just an experience that was there on your path to teach you something. And as you go through the 7 steps of transformation, you will understand what happened to you. You will accept it. You will surrender in front of it. You will learn the lessons and extract the meaning that you need. And of course, on the way, you will forgive those people that have wronged you. You will forgive yourself, sometimes for wronging others, for, doing things against yourself. Maybe not being there for yourself at times, getting lost into this, noise of life.
Yeah.
And finally, as you're forgiving, maybe you can start healing and transform. So you can really, really embrace life with all your heart, because this is everything you have this very moment. You don't have anything else. So don't waste all your time, in the past. Don't spend all your time worrying for the future. Just be present as much as you can. 80-20 is the rule. 80% in the present moment. Always aware, always cherishing this moment, making the best of it. 10% working on the past, 10% planning for the future, and you're going to have a brilliant life.
That's a beautiful ratio. That is an absolutely abundant ratio to think of things. And I think that's even a nicer way to actually end the podcast. But before I do, I would love for people to be able to find where they can find you on all your social media platforms, Nicoleta. If you would like to give a message to everyone before we go, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on my website at nicoletaporojanu.com. All the links for social media are there. If you want to maybe browse around our charity, thesignificantyou.org, you find our mental health charity there. If you go on any of these websites, you're going to find out a bit about my work, a bit about my plans for the future, and how I see the world, what's my point of view, why am I so passionate about spreading goodness and well-being in the world. And I'm hoping that it inspires you to do the same with all of the other people around you.
Nicoleta, I want to thank you so much for taking your time to come on the Us People podcast, because you have been an absolutely lovely, beautiful and compassionate guest. I thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Savia. You're doing fantastic work. Keep doing it. You're touching people's lives, and I think this is absolutely priceless. I mean, it's magnificent. Very grateful for being here with you, and very smart questions. Thank you so much.
No, you're more than welcome. Without guests like you, I wouldn't have a show. So my abundant gratitude to you always. Thank you. Guys, I want to thank you so much for listening to the Us People podcast. And please remember, you can subscribe on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and any other platform that you prefer listening to. Please also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can also donate to the Us People podcast by simply going to the Savia Rocks website, or just typing in paypal.com/Us People podcast. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Stay happy, stay positive, and as always, please continue to be kind to one another.
Now's my time to let it go. see you shining.
It was very nice. I enjoyed it. Yeah, you're very warm and peaceful. You send a very beautiful vibe, a beautiful energy. I don't know how you're doing it, but it's working. I think you are amazing.
I'm gonna be okay. Made up my mind, now is my time to shine. Now is my time to shine. Time that you let go, time that you let go. Now is my time to shine. Now is my time to shine. Now is my time to shine. Time that you let go, time that you let go. Now is my time to shine. Time to let it go. Now is my time. Now is my time. Time to let it go. Now is my time. Now is my time. Time to let it go. Now is my time. Now is my time. Time to let it go. You are your own worst enemy. Thinking too far, what's ahead of me? One day at a time. Just enjoy the ride. Open those eyes, see the light. Ignite that fire inside it. Let it breathe breath into life. Push all your fears to the side. Control your mind, it's all alright. Enjoy your life, the joy is mine. Commit to you, you got the tools. Everything you do, you make the rules. Sometimes